Welcome to Master Your Money, Budgeting, Saving, and Debt-Free Living. I'm your host, Nate Tanner. On this show, we use the Triggator Triangle, budget, save, and pay off debt to help you build a spending plan that fits your life, grow your savings with purpose, and knock out debt with confidence. And today, we're talking about the little humans who somehow come with a big price tag. If you've got kids, whether they're in preschool, middle school, or just starting to ask for cleats, costumes, and cupcakes, you've probably felt the sting of surprise expenses. One minute, you're cruising through your spending plan, and the next, boom, it's picture day, soccer registration, and a birthday party that somehow turned into a bounce house bonanza. This episode is your Kid Cost Check-In, a practical guide to identify predictable kid-related expenses, building a kid-focused alligator fund using paycheck-based planning, and teaching your kids the Triggator Triangle through real-life examples. Because here's the truth, kid costs are not unpredictable. They're just unplanned. And when you start assigning dollars to the things that you know are coming, you stop being surprised and start being strategic. According to a 2025 report from the Center of Household Finance, the average American family spends over $2,800 a year on non-monthly kid expenses. Things like sports fees, school supplies, birthday parties, and seasonal gear. That's not a budget buster, that's an alligator waiting to bite. So whether you're prepping for back to school, gearing up for fall sports, or just trying to keep your spending plan from getting tackled by surprise expenses, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. How to identify and plan for predictable kid costs. Let's kick things off with a little celebration. If you've already built your back-to-school alligator fund and you're cruising through August without panic buying glue sticks at midnight, congratulations. You're leading your money like a pro. And if you're listening right now and thinking, wait, what's an alligator fund? Or, I meant to plan for school supplies, but then life happened. You're not behind. You're just early for next year. Because here's the truth, back to school isn't a surprise, it's a season. And like all seasons, it comes with a predictable cost. Uniforms, supplies, registration fees, PTA donations, lunch accounts, and let's not forget the optional but socially mandatory classroom contributions. So if this year caught you off guard, here's your challenge. Track every kid-related expense this month. Not just the receipts, track the categories. What did you spend on supplies? What did you spend on sports registration costs? Did you forget about the school fundraiser or a new backpack? Because next August, that's your 2026 back-to-school alligator. And the best way to tame it is to start planning now. Let's zoom out for a second. Kids' costs aren't just seasonal. They're predictable. They show up in cycles, school, sports, birthdays, holidays, and they love to bite your spending plan when you're not looking. Here's a quick list of common kid-related alligator expenses. School supplies, you could be looking at those at August, but also maybe in January when they're running short. Tuition or fees, sometimes these are monthly, but they could be quarterly or annually. Sports registration, do they have fall sports, winter sports, spring sports? Uniforms and gear, cleats, pads, dance shoes, etc. Birthday parties, your kids and maybe their friends. Field trips and fundraisers, holiday gifts and events, summer camps or childcare. Maybe technology upgrades. Hello, Chromebook. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a lot. And you're right. But here's the good news. You don't have to fund it all at once. You just have to start assigning dollars with intention. This is where the Triggator Triangle comes in. When you budget, you're not just reacting, you're assigning. When you save, you build peace of mind. And when you pay off debt, you're freeing up future dollars to support your family's goals. So let's start with our first move. Identify your kids' costs. Use your calendar, use your memory, use your receipts. Then put them together on a list and we'll start planning for them. Now, don't worry about perfection. Just get close. Now we're going to go into it a little bit further in the next section, but we'll talk about how to split this up into more bite-sized pieces. It's going to be simple math with a big impact, because when you start assigning dollars to predictable expenses, you stop being surprised and start being strategic. And here's the kicker. Your kids, they are watching. They will see how you handle money. They'll notice when you're stressed. They notice when you're calm. And when you start planning for their needs with clarity and confidence, you're not just budgeting, you're modeling. In Seinfeld, remember when Frank Costanza would get overwhelmed and he would shout, "Serenity now," hoping to bring peace? Here's a little spoiler, it doesn't. That's your spending plan without an alligator fund. You can shout serenity now all you want, but if you're not planning for predictable kid costs, chaos later is guaranteed. So instead of reacting, start assigning. Track this year's expenses, build next year's fund, and lead your money with clarity, not catchphrases. Now, we'll talk more about teaching your kids the Triggator Triangle in section 3, but for now, let's focus on building the fund that keeps your spending plan from getting tackled by surprised expenses. Building a kid-focused alligator fund using paycheck-based planning. Kid costs don't just show up, they stack up. And if you're not assigning dollars with intention, they'll sneak in, pile up, and bite your spending plan when you least expect it. That's why building a kid-focused alligator fund isn't just smart, it's essential. And it starts with breaking things down. But first, if this is your first time listening, let me define what we mean by an alligator expense. An alligator expense is a non-monthly predictable cost that sneaks up and bites your spending plan if you don't plan for it. These aren't emergencies. They're not surprises. They're just inevitable. Think sports registration, school supplies, birthday parties, summer camps, and maybe even some dental work. If it's coming and it's not monthly, it's an alligator. So step 1 for your kids' alligator funds. Break it down. Let's channel a little MC Hammer energy here. Break it down. Because when it comes to kid costs, vague categories like school stuff or sports aren't going to cut it. You need clarity. You need granularity. You need to break it down. Here's how I do it. Here are some examples of my daughter's alligators. Summer swim camp, new contact lenses, birthday, swim gear, swim meet travel. Here are some examples of my son's alligators. Summer football camp, fall football registration, team fees, birthday, the sugar tax, also known as fillings. Some shared alligators for both of my kids are things like back to school clothes, back to school supplies, and maybe Christmas. Each of these gets their own label in my alligator plan. Why? Because when I get granular, I stay on track. I know exactly what I'm saving for, how much I need, and when I need it. And when I break it down like this, I can easily run the Goldilocks test. Too hot. Am I overfunding and tying up dollars that I could use elsewhere? Too cold. I'm underfunding and setting myself up for a surprise. Or just right. I've got clarity, margin, and peace of mind. Now, how you break this down is up to you. Some folks like to group it by kid, some by category, some by urgency. What matters most is the plan, the assignment, and the follow-through. Step 2, assign by paycheck. Once you've broken it down, it's time to assign. Take each alligator and estimate the total cost. Then divide that cost by the number of paychecks until the expense hits. Let's say your daughter's swim meet travel is going to cost you $300 and it's in 6 weeks. You get paid bi-weekly, so that's 3 paychecks. 300 divided by 3, that's $100 per paycheck. That's your assignment. You're not scrambling the week of the meet. You're calmly saving in advance. Repeat this for each alligator. You'll end up with a clear, manageable plan that fits your income rhythm and keeps your spending plan from getting too hot or cold. Here's a little tip if you haven't noticed. Remember how in our example I said that it's in 6 weeks? Well, what if I knew that my daughter's swim meet travel wasn't needed until next year. I then would have 26 paychecks to divide that into, and that creates a small, very easily manageable bite that I can put into my plan. So when you're working with alligators, time is your best friend. The more time, the smaller the bite. Step 3, automate the savings. I've been asked a lot about alligator planning and how to set up for success. Now, coming soon, we will have the Alligator Tracker in the Triggator app. But until the app is launched and we get a new and improved way, let me give you the old way. Since I like to keep my spending plan simple, I have a single line I call alligator savings. That's where I put the total of all the little savings amounts I've assigned to each alligator. I keep a separate list of the breakdown of that total. On that list, I track each alligator expense, how much per paycheck I'm saving, what the estimated cost is, when the alligator needs to be fed, like for example, back to school, I need it funded by August 1st. And then lastly, how much I've saved for that alligator so far. Now, during my paycheck planning, once my automated deposit, and like I've said before, I love using direct deposits for this. Once that hits my alligator savings account, I update my savings total for each expense by adding the per paycheck savings amount. Now, full disclosure, my undergrad studies were in software engineering, so I do have some cheats that I created to make that process the click of a button. But soon, with the Triggator app, you'll have access to that same cheat, and it will be better than up, down, left, right, BA, select, start. In The Simpsons, Lisa Simpson once built a spreadsheet to track her family's behavior, complete with formulas, charts, and predictions. That's your alligator fund. You don't need a spreadsheet worthy of a Nobel Prize, but you do need a system. Because when you track your alligators, assign by paycheck, and automate the savings, you're not just budgeting, you're forecasting. And that is how you lead your money with clarity, not chaos. Teaching kids the Triggator Triangle through real-life examples. We've talked about identifying kid costs and building your alligator plan. Now let's talk about something even more powerful, teaching your kids how to lead their own money. Because here's the truth, your kids are watching. They see how you handle money. They see when you're stressed. They notice when you're calm. And when you start planning for their needs with clarity and confidence, you're not just budgeting, you're modeling. Start with real-life examples. The best way to teach the Triggator Triangle, budget, save, pay off debt, is to show it in action. Let's say your kid wants to buy a new pair of cleats. That's a perfect moment to walk through the triangle. Budget. Let's figure out how much they cost and when you need them. Save. Let's set aside $10 from your allowance each week until you got enough. Pay off debt. If you need the cleats now and don't have enough saved, I can loan you the money, but we'll set up a repayment plan. That last part, that's a teachable moment. Back in episode 43, Plastic or Paper, I shared one of my favorite ways to teach your kids about debt. Here's what I said. Let's say that they want to go to a concert, but they are short on cash. Instead of just buying the ticket, offer them a loan with some interest. I know some people might be saying that's harsh, but is it? Because when they turn 18, Visa won't hesitate to do the same. The difference, your lesson comes with love, with explanation, with a chance to learn. Visa's lesson comes with fees, stress, and a minimum payment plan. So give them the lesson now while the stakes are low and the support is high. You're not just teaching them how to pay off debt. You're teaching them how to avoid it, how to respect it, and how to lead their money with confidence. Budget side tips, stretching back to school dollars. Now let's zoom in on the budget side of your triangle, specifically for back to school since it is right on our heels. Because this is one of those big alligators for your kids each year. And it is also one of the best opportunities to teach your kids how to stretch a dollar. Here are a few tips to help you and them get the best value for every assigned dollar. Tip 1, Don't let branding bite you. The $5 box of name brand number 2 pencils writes just as nicely as the $1 box, unless your kid's handwriting looks like a squirrel tap dancing on a trampoline, in which case no pencil can save you. Tip 2. Shop your house first. Before you hit the store, check your drawers. They might already have notebooks, folders, or half-used packs of pens from last year. Let your kids help with this scavenger hunt. It's budgeting disguised as a game. Tip 3. Assign a spending plan together. Give your kids a budget for their supplies and let them make some choices. You've got $30. Do you want the fancy binder or the extra markers? This builds decision-making skills and helps them understand trade-offs. Tip number 4. Use the Goldilocks test. Teach them to ask, is this too much, too little, or just right? That $40 backpack might be cool, but is it hot for your spending plan? Build their triangle one paycheck at a time. If your kids earn money like an allowance, babysitting, lawn mowing, or whatever, help them build a mini spending plan. Assign their income across the triangle. Budget maybe for some snacks or some spending. Saving for a goal like a game or a gift. And then pay off any IOUs, especially if they borrowed from you. Even if it's just $10 a week, the habit matters more than the amount. And if they're too young for income, let them help with yours. Show them how to assign dollars to their alligator expenses. Let them see the plan. Help them see the purpose. Remember in The Office, Dwight Schrute once said, "I keep my money in a can on top of my fridge. That's where I know it is, and I can keep an eye on it." Now that's one way to manage money, but teaching your kids the Triggator Triangle, that's how you help them build a system. Because when they learn to assign, save, and spend with purpose, they don't just keep an eye on their money, they lead it. You've made it to the end of Kid Cost Check-In. And if you're still here, you're not just surviving the school season, you're leading it. In this episode, we walked through how to identify and break down predictable kid-related alligator expenses, how to build a kid-focused alligator plan using paycheck-based planning, how to teach your kids the Triggator Triangle through real-life examples, and stretch every back-to-school dollar with purpose. Because here's the truth, kid costs aren't unpredictable. They're just unassigned. And when you lead your money with clarity, your spending plan doesn't just survive the chaos, it absorbs it. Today's challenge is simple but powerful. Build your kid alligator plan. List every kid-related expenses you expect this year. Break it down by kid and category. Assign a per paycheck savings amount for each alligator. Create a single alligator savings line in your spending plan. Track your progress, or prep for the Triggator app's alligator tracker that's coming soon. Because when you assign your dollars with intention, you stop scrambling and start leading. Got a kid cost you finally tamed, a back-to-school win worth celebrating, or a budgeting breakthrough that helped your family breathe easier? Email me at podcast@Triggator.com. I'd love to hear your story, and it may help one of the members of the Triggator community. Or you can message me on Instagram, Facebook, or X @Triggator. If this episode helped you build a plan that flexes with your family, follow the show so your next paycheck starts with clarity. Leave a review, especially if this helped you ditch the panic and lead with peace. Share this episode with a parent who's tired of budgeting like their kid costs are random when they're anything but. And don't forget to follow @Triggator on social media for behind-the-scenes content, encouragement, and a few memes that might just make your day. Coming up next time, the Money Mindset Makeover. How to stop feeling behind and start leading your plan. Ever felt like you're falling behind financially and everyone else is somehow ahead? Next time, we're flipping that mindset. We'll walk you through how to reframe guilt and comparison into clarity and confidence. Reset your Triggator Triangle with one goal per side and run a comparison detox to stop spending based on social pressure. Because your plan isn't behind, it's ready for a reset. And your next move, it starts with mindset. Your kids don't need perfection. They need leadership. And your spending plan doesn't need to be flawless. It needs to be followed. So break it down, assign it with purpose, and lead your family's money like it matters, because it does. Thanks for listening to Master Your Money, Budgeting, Saving, and Debt-Free Living. I'm your host, Nate Tanner. See you next time.